Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on your favourite podcast streaming service to ensure you get to listen to it before it's uploaded to YouTube. Links are in the description. Hello and welcome to the brand new podcast series Terra Alpha. We have moved from YouTube to the world of podcasts and is available to subscribe to on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts and more. We will try and get weekly podcasts to you covering theories, speculations and of course reviews of our favourite show, Doctor Who, and everything else in the Whoniverse. Reviews of Series 12 will be coming soon, but today we're going to be looking at a brand new incarnation of the Doctor that was introduced to us this weekend, played by the brilliant Jo Martin. So we have 3 theories to share with you guys today about where Ruth's Doctor fits into the canon of the show. We are going to go by the assumption that Ruth's Doctor is in fact the Doctor, mainly going off the sonic screwdriver reading the same biometric data for her and Jodie's Doctor. Biometric data is something which is very personal and private to a Time Lord as seen in Arc of Infinity. This first theory is probably my least favourite, but it is one that's been talked about for a while and even rumoured since before Series 12 aired. So the first theory is that Ruth is in fact an incarnation of the Doctor from before William Hartnell. Now, hold up the people who are moaning about this. I mean, I am moaning about it as well, to be fair. But the first time we ever had an inclination that there were incarnations before Hartnell was during the 4th Doctor episode, The Brain of Morbius, where we saw 8 faces of the Doctor we'd never seen before. So it's not impossible that she comes from there. However, the Doctor did steal their current TARDIS in Hartnell's body as seen in The Name of the Doctor and the Big Finish audio at the beginning, and that TARDIS didn't get its chameleon circuit stuck as a police box until the events of An Unearthly Child, so likeliness of this theory being the case isn't very high. Now, there are ways they can get around the police box exterior with Ruth's TARDIS, but I feel like it's not going to be the case. Now, this second theory is something that's been quite popular online on Twitter and Facebook since this episode aired. This is actually that this Doctor is from a parallel universe, similar to the Unbound Doctors by Big Finish. Now, this would need to have a lot of backstory to it, such as how did the Jejune in this universe get to Gallifrey in another universe, which is where the base was, etc. But it's something writers could do pretty easily. Alternatively, I've added to this theory and suggested that maybe Ruth's Doctor is actually part of this universe, but when the Doctor engages with the events of the Timeless Child at some point in the future of the series, it causes a split in the fabric of space-time, causing 2 timelines, similar to the events of Turn Left. But as it isn't a parallel universe yet, she is still a part of our universe, making her meeting our Doctor plausible without trans-universal travel. And finally, we move on to our third theory, which is my personal favourite. This theory is that Ruth's Doctor is set between the lives of the second incarnation and what we know as the third incarnation of the Doctor. Now, a lot of you people will be like, the Doctor was sentenced to regeneration and exile on Earth at the end of the War Games, so it doesn't fit. Well, due to the bad memory of Terrance Dicks, all the appearances of the second Doctor in multi-Doctor episodes take place after the War Games, and subsequently he wrote a whole book series known by fans as Season 6B. And though that book series takes place between the War Games and Spearhead from Space. In this book series, the Doctor is sentenced to execution and not exile, but the Time Lords discover they need to send someone to a time anomaly that they can deny sending, so decided to pardon the Doctor for a while so that he can carry out the work for them. Ruth states that she worked for Gat, a Time Lord chasing her, and the job wasn't something you could apply for nor get out of, maybe like a sentence by the Time Lords. Ruth's Doctor's TARDIS interior and exterior are both reminiscent of the original designs used in the Second Doctor's era. We don't see what the interior of the console room looks like at the start of Pertwee's tenure, but we do see the console, which is still the original one, which Ruth has. Ruth does seem confused about the sonic screwdriver, but she does say that she's too clever to use one. Troughton only used the screwdriver a handful of times, so it wouldn't be attached to it as the Doctor is now. She doesn't say she doesn't know what it is, she just doesn't like it. If this is the case, the likeliness of the Time Lords then wiping the Doctor's memory of having worked for them fits in with the Season 6B theory, as in the 5 Doctors, the Second Doctor still remembers the events of the 3 Doctors, showing that while working for the Time Lords, the Second Doctor didn't lose his memory when he crossed his own timeline. They would have allowed him to keep the memories at first because they were allowing him to break the first law of time. Perhaps after running away as Ruth, once captured, the Doctor was once again put on trial, sentenced to exile and regeneration, and then had their mind wiped of the events post the War Games. This would create an issue with the regenerations of the original cycle. However, the Time Lords could have granted the Doctor replacement regeneration. The tenant-to-tenant regeneration may not have counted as a full regeneration. Or perhaps, going by what the Valiard said in A Trial of a Valiard by Big Finish, that the Time Lords can in fact exceed 12 regenerations, and the limit is drummed into the Time Lords so they don't try and regenerate after their 13th body dies. So that is all 3 theories for you guys, gals, and non-binary pals here today. I'm not saying that any of these are what is the actual case with Ruth's Doctor, but they are just a few suggestions about who she is. And to close this podcast, I just wanted to respond to the trolls online who are going nuts about Chibnall changing the lore of Doctor Who. Most showrunners of the show have messed with the lore. When it started, there was no lore, and the little bit of lore about the Doctor's home they put into the first episode was cut out. Towards the end of the first Doctor, they came up with the radical idea of regeneration, when originally they were going to change the Doctor during Celestial Toymaker but keep him like Hartnell, just with a slightly different face so that they could get rid of Hartnell. During the second Doctor, they changed the lore by stating the name of the Doctor's people, the Time Lords. During the third Doctor, we discover the name of the Doctor's planet in a throwaway line. We find out about Omega and a little bit more about Time Lords. During the fourth Doctor, they decided to say that Time Lords can only regenerate 12 times, which was not stated before, and they introduced the character of Rassilon to us. During the fifth Doctor, they decide that Rassilon is just asleep in his tomb waiting to be resurrected. During the sixth Doctor, they decide to add a brand new incarnation of the Doctor we have never seen before and haven't seen since, that is evil and fits in between the 12th and final incarnation of the Doctor. During the seventh Doctor, they created a Time Lord known as the Other, changing the Doctor Who lore to add a third Great Father of Gallifrey. They made the eighth Doctor half-human. With the ninth Doctor, they changed the law by saying there was a time war. With the 10th Doctor, they changed the law by saying a Time Lord could be resurrected using a potion and a spell. 11th Doctor changed the law by not destroying Gallifrey in the Time War and adding in a Doctor we hadn't seen before. 12th Doctor changed the law by being granted a new regeneration cycle by the High Council of Time Lord by saying the Doctor grew up in a home for boys and slept in a barn as a child. And now the 13th Doctor expands the law by adding the Timeless Child, similar way to how they added the Other, and by adding a Doctor that the Doctor has forgotten about, and we will see where she fits in due course. A show has the right to change its own lore, otherwise the Doctor would have ended with William Hartnell. Also, we have seen faces for the Doctor from before Hartnell in a Tom Baker episode called Brain of Morbius, as I mentioned before. Every showrunner has changed the lore of this show. There has been something within most Doctors that is as radical a change as this. So make sure you subscribe to our brand new podcast via whatever platform you're listening to us on, and why not comment on our Facebook page which theory you think is correct, and let us know of any other theories you may have about this incarnation. You can also leave us a voice message on our Anchor page, which could be included in future episodes. So thanks once again for listening, and we'll chat with you Whovians soon. Ta-ra!